Hey YouTube, this is Zach with Achilles Financial, and today I want to talk about how you can go about finding stocks that actually have a lot of potential based on fundamental analysis or technical analysis. So a key item that I use a lot on TD Ameritrade is the stock screeners. You can see that information here. If you click on stocks, it'll take you to the page that I am currently on. And this is something that I use fairly often, and it's pretty much a everyday event that I will at least look at this, especially at least on the options side, just so I can see, well, what's out there, what's going on, what are people looking at. Again, if you kind of go in here into the options research, you can at least see some of the highest volume that's included in here. And this is one of the ways that I go out and see, well, what does the big money think is going to happen? But when I'm looking for some of my own stocks that I'm looking for, especially stocks that I believe are undervalued, then this is a exercise that I'll use. This is one of the ways that I was looking at forward compared to the broader industry. This is one of the ways that I was looking at TSM in regards to the semiconductor manufacturing industry, as well as UMC. And one of the ways that I've done this in this semiconductor and semiconductor equipment is actually how I found those two stocks that I just mentioned, is I go in here and I'm looking at screeners and I'm trying to decide what do I think is going to be a worthwhile purchase. So this is not utilizing my Twitter. This is not utilizing the Discord where we share a lot of information, and that link is dropped in the description below. And it's generally not using any of the other YouTube channels that I follow to go out and find this information. Rather, what I'm doing is looking, how can I find new stocks that are trading lower than the broader industry? So one of the ways that I would do that is I'll do this live on screen, is if we're going to create a screen of what are we looking for, what are we trying to build, generally speaking, I am going to be searching for fundamental values. So how well is the company performing? One of the things that I would highlight here, though, is that there is a lot of options here where you have the capability to go and find all sorts of movement. So one of the things that I'll look at is today's volume versus average, or some of the time I'll look at just current price to see kind of where the penny stocks are trading. But one of the big ones I use is I'm going to go in here into fundamentals, and I am going to look and see, hey, does any of this mean anything important to me? And you can see here that there is a number of items in here that are important or good. And I'll look at profit margin. So if I say, what is a good profit for a company to have? I think that's generally too broad. So I want to look in particular at what are you doing in a specific industry. So myself personally, the software industry is very high profit margin, and I like that. So if I were to look at 25 to 50%, you can already see I've got a lot of matches right here. However, I want to get a little bit more granular because I just said that I want a specific industry. So if I go in here into the information technology, all, then what I'm able to do is find 28 matches that I'm looking at here. So you can already see the companies right here. Again, there's just a number of them in here. I can hover over and see these type of companies and how well they're performing. As you can see, and as I'm sure you can expect, a lot of these companies have been trading upwards over the past 3 months. Again, a lot in here. But for most of these companies, I already know them. So I don't necessarily think that that's something that's going to be super beneficial. Whereas when I'm looking at the chart right here, I can kind of say, okay, why is the stock at XYZ price? So we've got 792 over here. So if I'm looking at some of these different companies, Genesis Inc. So I don't know anything about this company. However, they are incredibly profitable. So let's kind of look at that company. So I've pulled up Genesis Inc. The PE ratio of 22.84 is not insane for this industry. A lot of these companies trade at a 40. So I see that the shares outstanding of 33.6 is relatively low. And even though they're trading near an all-time high, let's see how they're doing. So the very first thing I do is, are they profitable? Wow, they had a fantastic Q4. That looks really good. I like the capability here. And then what I'll do is I'll say, okay, that looks good. They appear to have growing cash on hand. Let's look at the annual. Growing cash, growing equity. I like a lot what's going on here. And then what I'll do is I'll go and I'll check out earnings. So as you can see, wow, they had a huge beat in Q4. This is probably where that revenue growth is. Huge, massive beat right here. So again, this is not something that I planned ahead of time. I literally just looked at it and walked through the process with you. And I see a lot going on for, hey, I think there's a lot of value associated with this company. The next thing I would do is look at the peer comparison. For a lot of these smaller companies, they don't have any information in here. So I'll go to the analyst reports. There appear to be only 3 analysts reporting on them, although that's a favorable price target, and I anticipate that's something that may get boosted up. I may look at some of these reports in here. So this is how we just walked through, and I just showed you how I find good stocks that I think are worthwhile to invest in. We don't even know what this company does. So they work in the design, development, and commercialization of sound technology. Oh, now we know. So I think there's a lot of value to having a stock screener and really looking at, hey, how you understand it. And for that reason, this is why I heavily encourage you to utilize a stock screener. So this is a little bit shorter of a video. This is how I go out and find new stocks that I think are worthwhile. And I think it's important for you to be able to have the capability to do so as well. So thank you for watching this video. If you find this content helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks. Talk to you later.